What's up, Gamecock Nation? Tashawn Wanamaker here checking in, and you're about to hear the show presented by Express Suns Rooms of Columbia. Spurs up.
It's time for Inside the Gamecocks, the show with Phil Mullinax and J.C. Sherbert.
So, how many of you would say you speak English fairly well, but with some difficulty?
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
You play to win the game.
Now, let's take it away, J.C. and Phil.
Welcome into Inside the Gamecocks, the show. I'm J.C. Sherbert. That's right. At least 5 inches of snow on the ground outside where I'm at.
There would be, but it wasn't cold enough here.
It's like The Shining outside this morning. I was like, But it's the rare occasion where Nat, I guess the snow sort of hit right. Usually when the snow hits up here, there's no missing work or school or anything like that. But it hit right at the time she was supposed to go to work. So the roads were a little iffy. So she's working from home today. So she got to take the kids. She's still not back. So thankfully I didn't have carpool duty today, or else I would have been out there with Jack Nicholson. Red Rum.
Red Rum.
Rad Rum.
Red Rum.
I don't know what's worse. I was sitting there and because I was talking to my mom, and she was like, "It's like Frozen. It's like the movie Frozen." I'm like, I don't know that I wouldn't rather be in The Shining than Frozen, to be honest.
I don't know, man. Magic powers, ice powers.
I can't. Ice powers.
Ice powers.
I can't let it go. I'd rather have Austin powers than I don't know. Yeah, baby, yeah. Whatever, Mr. Powers. Our Huskers are going to win big this year. So big announcement today, and I was going to save it for the second hour, but I know everybody's anticipating this, and I think the next hour we'll probably have other things to talk about. But very pleased, Phil, to announce, and I know Phil and I are very excited about this, that starting next Wednesday, February 1st, the show is changing, and we're going to become a power trio, to quote the band Tenacious D.
Yes.
We're cool. We're comfortable being a power. Remember when they added Sasquatch as the drummer and it didn't work? And we're just not comfortable being a power trio, dude.
Comfortable being a power trio, man.
Yeah, but we're going to be a power trio. Jamie Bradford is going to be a full-time co-host with us each and every day. This is something that, because I want to give my perspective on it. Well, we'll get his obviously in the second hour, but this is something I've always kind of wanted to do. When JB and Goldwater were getting out, I kind of in the back of my mind, and lots of people told me, said, wouldn't it be cool if you and JB did a show? And the timing wasn't right. I'm certainly, as the show has evolved, Phil and I have had a great time doing it, and we're going to continue to do it and continue to have a great time, because I think Phil has been one of the best. When you hire, I've hired a lot of good people over the years in this business, on the website. I've casted people in plays and films and stuff when I was in college, and I've got a decent eye for it. You know, I'm probably better at that than ranking football players. And Phil's been
you made
one
a
of
living
my
at that though, man. You're all right. Yeah.
Phil's been my best casting decision. I think one of the best I've ever made, and just kind of an unknown, and now he's endeared himself to all of you, and we're keeping on. I do think Jamie brings not only a lot of experience on the air, respect his takes and opinions, but as far as a guy that's kind of done a daily show for a long time, for most of his career, that's very popular, that also has connections throughout, some connections that we don't have, a lot of them actually, with things like guests and then production experience. I mean, yeah, you guys know it's kind of a mom and pop deal with the production end of it, and that's what gives it its charm. But at some point we got to clean that up, and Jamie can help us do that, because Phil and I aren't producers. We're more on-air talent. Phil does a good job with most of it, and we kind of work together, but Jamie gives us that extra element. And so I consider Jamie Bradford a friend. I've every minute I've worked with him, every segment we've had on JB and Goldwater or here otherwise, has been some of the highlights of my career. I feel like there's a lot of good energy there. JB and Goldwater is sort of where I kind of realized that I could be myself with all of you, and instead of being kind of a snooty guy that types and real fast and kind of in an aloof way on a website, right? Because I speak a lot different than I type, and I'm just very blessed because it all started with during the pandemic. I wrote an article. It was like I ranked the top 1 through 14 the road trips in the SEC, or maybe top 10 or something, and I had Vanderbilt number 1, and that caught JB's eye or whatever, and so Darren gets me up, and we get on. We have a segment. We start doing it every week, and we just had a blast. And all of this has sort of evolved from that. And so I just I couldn't be more thrilled than to have this happen and all that. And, you know, he's like I said, I think this is, you know, outside of hiring Phil and then on the website hiring John Whittle and Tony Morrell and Hill McGranahan. And this isn't really a hiring. This is more of it's a partnership. But you know, partnering with Jamie is a highlight. It's a highlight moment. It's one of those things where I think I'll always look back on this as a time where the show started to evolve. And so I couldn't be more excited to have him on. And he's going to be on the second hour, just like he always is. And we're very fired up about it. And I'll let Phil give his opinion.
No, it's going to be awesome, JB. JC, see here's where it's already starting. It's already starting. That's right. So somebody had to come in here and be professional enough for us clowns, right? No. I'm excited. Like you have, listened to JB and Goldwater. I was sad when they were gone. I obviously loved your spot on it every Wednesday was what turned me onto it, actually, and he and Darren have done a great job. I know he's got great perspective, polish, and professionalism that we don't. Everybody I know loves JB. I love JB. You love JB. We all are happy when he's around. He's, always willing to fill in, consider him a good friend, and just excited to grow this thing, man. This is going to be great as we move forward.
I am fired up myself, and I think it's going to be, like I said, tremendous. Another thing, this is not as important of an announcement, obviously, is becoming a power trio. We're going to start streaming this thing at some other spots on the Big Spur social media accounts. They're a little larger, obviously. Still going to be streaming on Twitter, Inside the Gamecocks, and also on Facebook on Inside the Gamecocks, but also, I think it's called the Big Spur Facebook page is in partnership with 24/7 Sports. So it's not, we don't run it all the time. It's kind of co-ran, but it's called South Carolina Gamecocks on 24/7 Sports. Are obviously a very large page, and then the Big Spur Twitter account, I think, has, compared to like our 1,500 Twitter followers, I think it's got like 45,000. So I think we're gonna expand our social media presence. Obviously, right here on YouTube is the preferred method. I think you can get in the chat box from the other areas, but it's maybe a little more difficult. We love the chat box, and that's not going anywhere. And we're still going to be over the top interactive and all that good stuff. For you guys and all that.
And silly.
We're very fired up. Yeah. And silly. It's silly. So I'm very fired up about that. Been talking to Jamie for a while about it, and we've already started on some production side. So the Irish themed scroll is probably going away because they keep flagging me for a copyright, even though I downloaded it from a free site. I don't think anybody's home. I think Google had all those layoffs. I think they laid off the person that's responsible for checking all this stuff, but it'll be a lot of different elements, and it'll sound a little different, a little more like a better, I don't want to say professional, but it'll sound it'll be cleaned up a lot. It'll sound more like a radio show. So that's it. So that's the big announcement for today. JB is going to join us second hour. We're going to talk about that, and then talk about maybe a little Carolina baseball, some recruiting, maybe some look back at the offensive coordinator search, because I went digging about that a little bit last night because certain people want to talk about Garrett Riley and all that good stuff. And I can tell you, Shane Beamer never talked to Garrett Riley about the job, ever.
So, some interesting developments there.
Yeah, and I text Phil last night about it too, and so I can tell you that without a shadow of a doubt on that one. So, I don't know where these things come from sometimes, folks. Nana Sports chat box, Craig says, it's raining men here. I remember, was it In Living Color? 2 snaps in a circle. That
snaps in a circle. That's right.
It's raining. Joey Sox, morning everybody. Hate to rehash this, but I did see a tweet by Sports Talk. The USC still trying to get Jeff Coat. And he spoke to this. At this point, I think everyone is just over this. I'm trying not to say anything because I don't want to get anybody's hopes up. I don't want to get worked up over it. I don't want to keep going to the well and asking why. But yeah, my understanding is Kornblut's information is accurate. How about that? I was just we debated about it. Should we put it? Because I don't know that it's going to happen or not. I will say this: if he attends class at Arkansas, it's over. So
yeah, right.
I don't know if any. I know we have some Carolina Rise members that live in like Rogers, Arkansas. I think that's in the Northwest. So if you're listening, maybe go over to U of A if you got time and you don't get arrested for like stalking. And
just
see if
public university, you can walk around campus. It's all right.
Yeah, just gotta go dress like a college guy. Don't wear like a trench coat and a mask and stuff. That wouldn't.
You can go over there like those like First Amendment people who are trying to catch the cops doing the wrong thing with your phone out everywhere you go. I know my rights.
Good Lord. So anyway, that's what to look for, and he is enrolled at Arkansas, but my understanding is enrolled is not the same as attending class. You got to attend class, so because you can enroll 3 or 4 different places, and it doesn't necessarily you're on the roll. Heck, Jeff Coat was in the student directory at Carolina for a little while, and so that's the deal there. So I don't know what the deal is. Brian Beatty says, "I've got a good lead on a good idea." 4-minute abs.
Not a good idea. 4 minutes.
Ashley says, "I'm here for the intro tunes." It is a catchy tune. I'm probably going to put it on my iTunes, I guess is it still called Apple Music now?
Apple Music.
But, yeah, I got. I've been like in Nat's car, which I used to take the kids to school sometimes. I can't plug in my Bluetooth or my music, so I've been listening to the country station. I've downloaded about 4 or 5 new country songs, right? So that's good. Xavier said this music should be in a frontier montage in a movie. Yeah. Maybe like when you're going exploring rural Ireland, What's that movie with Nicole Kidman, Far and Away? That garbage flick. You can see Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman on a horse, Far and Away.
The soundtrack of Lewis and Clark.
Lewis Clark. Action says, "Hey JC, tuning in from Toledo again. We have 8 inches of snow this morning. Finally, school got off. Finally, we don't want you to come to school with 8 inches."
That's one too many.
In Chicago, you go to school, man. I mean, it takes a blizzard for you not to go to school. Brandon says, "Gamecocks, Washington Clinton, home of the Red Devils. Go Red Devils."
Yeah.
Churchill said, "Talked on Jeff Coat. Addressed that. Addressed Jeff Coat. The Shining still creeps Daddy-O out. Everybody's happy. JB, boom, boom, boom. Everybody's excited. 3 clowns is better than 2, John says.
That's right.
It's a power.
That's right.
It's a power trio. Marion used to love it on JB and Goldwater. Quantrell loves his baseball insight. Yeah, see, that's one thing.
Yeah,
look,
yeah.
I watch baseball. I can reasonably not sound like an idiot breaking down basketball because I played it, but baseball, man, I can't sit there and go, "Oh, well, he's got a catch radius slider or what." I can't do any of that. I don't know. So JB will be great with baseball, and I think given the people that he knows and stuff, we'll have quite a few baseball guests on during the season and stuff. Football as well. I mean, we're not I'm a helmet head, so you're not gonna. I'm gonna be talking football 365, but
oh yeah,
definitely excited about that. Stacy said, "Great news, but thought y'all were going to be a Gamecock basketball exclusive show."
We're trying to grow the brand.
That would be that's a way to be like, catch you next football season, guys. It's been fun.
Let's see you later.
Blind Squirrel Sports says, I might be a dog, but I love the show. You are a dog, Blind Squirrel.
Look at that. We appreciate it.
Nah,
That
really
sounds like a
appreciate
family
you,
reunion.
man. JB says, so no David the Gnome talk? Not today. Not today. So this thing about Vakari Swain's interesting, Brandon points out. Just got a big bump in the composite. Yeah, because on 3 moved him way up. Got a lot, you know. I like our guys at 24/7 Sports because I'm at 24/7 Sports, but 2 really good friends in Jerry Hamilton and Charles Power that do rankings for on 3. Mad respect. 2 of the best guys I've ever worked with in that department. Certainly they're better than me. And that takes a lot for me to say, right? So that they moved him way up. And so he's at number 186 overall. And I wrote an article yesterday about like early enrollees. Enrollees like like from the portal and also the high school and JUCO ranks that I think could play early. And Vakari's not an early enrollee, but I mentioned in the article he may just be too good to keep off the field. He may just be too fast, too whatever. Queasy says you can't make a show like In Living Color in today's world. Let me tell you something.
Yeah, no,
You can do Fire
definitely.
Marshal Bill. That's about
there's
it.
a few skits you could do, but whew, no.
By the way, racist tweets were uncovered by the Molly lady. See, I don't know if that's her or not. I don't want to comment on that because it certainly appears to be, but I don't know about that. Brandon says, JC just saw you put in a crystal ball at 8 for Elijah Caldwell. Sounds like he's coming. I believe he is. JB will also bring Charleston High School sports. Go James Island Trojans. Yes. Mazio Bennett did get a crystal ball from Wilt Fong. Michael says, other than Harbor, top recruits, I think from the high school ranks, it's basically down to Elijah Caldwell and Nicholas Harbor, unless there's a surprise. So there you go there. Tristan says, do you have any updates on Landon Sampson? I know he got reps in the ball practices. I wonder if he's progressed any. I know it's early, but it's heard he was struggling a bit. He wasn't struggling. He just needs to get stronger. And he did as the year went on, and I heard he practiced pretty well in the bowls, and I think that I think that we'll see what happens with him. I know there was concern because he was a kid that you kind of thought may come in and contribute because at South Lake Carroll, where he's from, I mean, the route running's advanced. It's a really good high school that produces college-ready guys. But strength, and that happens with everybody. So he's gotten stronger, and we'll see what happens. Your look-alike uncovered a lot, JC, the Delivery Boy. What? The Dively Boy? Y'all look a lot alike. I don't know. Seth says, after looking at Sir Wendell Gregory, who announces Friday, highlights, he seems like a great cover linebacker. Could probably have used it nickel or rover to help with stopping the run. Thanks for the show. Yeah, something like that. I think right now, but I mean, he's about 215, 220 now. I mean, if he gets to 235, 240, he's going to be like a monster.
Yeah.
One of those guys at Alabama or Georgia, so that's pretty good. All right, we got to hit our first break. Don't forget the man of the hour, Jamie Bradford, our future co-host, starting next Wednesday. He'll be on for his normal segment on Wednesday. And we're looking forward to talking to him and talking to you and talking to everybody else as we roll on Inside the Gamecocks, the show on a Wednesday.
Golfers and wannabe golfers, former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor is now a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina. In-person golf lessons are held at the Country Club of Lexington, half-hour, on course 9 or 18 holes. And if you're outside of South Carolina, Meredith conducts virtual lessons. Just send in your golf swing for analysis. Gift cards are available for in-person 1-hour lessons. Connect on Twitter at Mayor Taylor and find her online at McKellarEnterprises.org. Her email is on the website. Schedule your next lesson today with Meredith Taylor, former Gamecock golfer.
Gamecock Nation, do you need a place to stay for the big game? Many hotel booking engines keep all the commissions, but at Fan Plans, you support Inside the Gamecocks, still earn your hotel loyalty points, and you receive an email with direct confirmation from the hotel. Whether you are visiting Columbia to cheer on Carolina or hitting the road to follow the team, Get in the stands with Fan Plans.
This is Coach O. Now back to the show. Go Tigers in the soul.
Welcome back, everybody, to Inside the Gamecocks. The show is presented to you by Express Sunrooms in Columbia. Give John Barber and his guys a call, 803-446-4662, to set up a no-obligation consultation about a potential backyard retreat for your home. And the first hour of the show is presented to you by Cindy Searfoss and the Coldwell Banker Kane Realty team here in the Upstate. Give Cindy a call, 864-414-5271. Should be happy to take care of all your upstate residential real estate needs.
Very cool. Cindy Searfoss is one of our sponsors right here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. We certainly appreciate her. I just got an email from the National Football Foundation. It says, NCAA Division I football officials gathering in Irving, Texas to discuss rules of the game. And then I thought there would be a second part that says like ... and to max out on the bench press and pump a lot of iron.
That's right. How many PRs will be challenged and broken that weekend?
Gaines, personal foul, targeting. Dude. And the Coach O hard body contest is moving to Texas. We're going to move it out to Texas for a little bit because of the referees, they'll jacked up and lifted weights. And
most of my subscribers will be out in Texas that weekend.
Out in Texas, hard body contest in the summer. I'm going to oil everybody down with the oil. I'm going to oil you up. Find the light on you. If anybody need the tanning bed, go right down there on the left. Get ready.
Get ready.
The ref walks out with like a tiny ref shirt and just bust over.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody wearing their mediums.
Coach O should have been on Breaking Bad, James says, and Saul is Mike's partner. I'm gonna tell you this right now. If you want to cook crystal meth, that's fine with me. Kreger asking. Smith, my boy Smith, got a chance to meet old Smith in Lexington when I went to Kentucky. It was really an honor, those of you that I did get to meet. He thinks Greenville High is superior. Go Red Raiders. Greenville's gotten, gosh, back when I came up, they were a 3A school. They're in Burns League for they called it the Peach Blossom. They were good at basketball. Football, not so much, but they're better at football now. The Greenville schools in general, I was gone, I guess I left South Carolina in 2002 to go to Georgia and didn't come back. Well, I didn't come back to the upstate until 2015. And so for that time period I was gone, Southside Christian got a football team and won a state championship. Yeah. Christ Church had won a state championship. They used to be god-awful. And Hillcrest, who was always god-awful in football. I mean, when Burns played Hillcrest, we just kind of went. And I remember Hillcrest had Carolina colors and Malden had kind of Clemson colors back then. But I always thought Malden would be the football program that would kind of take up. But nah, it's definitely, it was Hillcrest. I came back, I was shocked. It's like I was a time warmer. I was like, you mean Hillcrest isn't crappy anymore?
I don't remember any time in the late 90s where any of the Greenville schools were really relevant statewide, It just
that's because you and your wife and Hale McGranahan and my ex-wife all had the privilege of attending one of two football powers, Eastside or Wade Hampton.
Right.
Yeah. Back when my dad played, there weren't. Wade Hampton's kind of an older school. Wade Hampton was pretty good.
Oh, yeah. But we also carried the dubious distinction of being the losingest high school program in the nation.
In America.
There's a big Sports Illustrated write-up in it. the year before my wife was a freshman, and of course they won their first game, and then it was pandemonium. And then we didn't win any more than 2 games, I think, my entire high school career.
They do. They win that East Side game because they're just as bad. Mm-hmm. Literally, I mean, they're just as bad. I mean,
feeding them in the fundraiser because we do a ride fundraiser. We raised $100,000 or so. It just, we prided ourselves on winning that because it didn't matter what happened in the field. We typically just lost that game.
That's crazy, but Spartanburg schools always are better than Greenville schools at the football and stuff. So, as a Spartanburg person, but you got all. I don't know. We can talk about that. We'll talk about that this off season, I guess. Daddy O asked in the award-winning Nanosports chat box, does Cam Pringle plan on enrolling in January? I think that's the plan right now. These things kind of work their way. I mean, because you go along and you got a semester, you got summer school, you got all that rocking and rolling for all that. So it's not the plan right now, but. Don't come after me with a pitchfork and a torch if it doesn't happen, because these things kind of get determined as we move along. But that's the plan right now. And frankly, with Pringle and Thompson both, getting them in early is going to help accelerate their development. I actually talked to I'm not going to say who, but one of our evaluators, recruiting guys at 24/7 last night. And we were talking about Pringle and Thompson, and he praised both of them. But a lot of people that I've talked to have a hard time telling you which one's better. So I think Pringle's probably going to be ranked a little higher because of the big offer list. But Thompson's got just as big of an offer list. I don't know. I think that's going to be something to kind of look at and debate for the next little bit, and that's good because that'll mean instead of talking about where they're going, that they're both committed, and so you can just debate about which one's better. That's the best. It's hard. I mean, it's hard for me. I'm like, I can't tell. So that kind of thing. Action says, what do you think about Elijah Griffin visiting? Yeah, he's a 2025 kid. I guess it's okay to talk about 2025 now. I don't like getting that far down, but just like Cam Pringle, just like these early guys that are committing, you start laying the groundwork now. I know he's ranked, number 1 by somebody. I don't know if that'll change or not. Hell of a prospect, though. Right there from, I guess, coastal Georgia. So we talked about that yesterday with the Michael Smith announcement that's a spot where Carolina, needs to, continue to hit hard. Because it's close. It's not a bad drive. Just like everybody talks about Jacksonville being close. I mean, coastal Georgia's on the way to Jacksonville, down 95, and it's really Savannah Christian Prep. It's not going to be easy, right? Because Savannah, even though it is close to South Carolina, it's a dog town. I mean, we've seen Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, right? With that's where they raise the Uggas, is in Savannah. Go Dogs. So it's not going to be easy. Kirby Smart's won 2 straight national championships. I've always said if the state of South Carolina were maybe like 20 miles wider around in the kind of the diamond shape, let's say it went across the Savannah River for 20 miles, it'd be a lot bigger state. Because you'd have Charlotte would be in the state, Augusta would be in the state, Savannah would be in the state.
Yep.
But alas, it's not. Those are in other states, so that is dog country. But I think it's great they're getting him in. The more a highly touted player comes to your campus, obviously, the better chance you have. I'd be lying if I sat here and said, "Oh well, they're going to get him," because number 1, it's way far away. Number 2. I think Georgia has a pretty good lead there. Brandon said he looks back at the magazine from 2007. ESPN had Brian Maddox as a 5-star and the number 12 overall recruit. No one else had Maddox that high. That's true. Mm-hmm. They had Maddox really high. ESPN ranked Carolina's players because I was at Rivals. And look, there were some misses by all of us in that class. But yeah, they had Maddox pretty high. I had him as a 4, top 170 player. He had a really good film, a lot of big offers. And look, he played pretty well. He made some plays. I mean, think about 2010, second half. Marcus has to go out. Maddox rips off about a 15-yard run against Alabama in that game. So that's good. With the amount of years, Jared says, Clemson has been good, unfortunately. How is it that outside of Georgia last year, they never open up with a big game with another powerhouse? Yeah, their scheduling, they went through a time period where they, I guess it's where they sort of did. They'd open in Atlanta every few years, and they've had Auburn down there. They played, they played Alabama in Tommy Bowden's last year down there. I think they have some games like that scheduled, but what happened with their schedule, and I'm certainly not saying that they have Clemson's playing a tough schedule or anything like that. I would never say that, but I think that it's when Notre Dame started rotating on with all the ACC schools every few years. I think that kind of limited the creativity because those neutral site games and stuff, they kind of just plug you in when it's convenient, when everybody can do it, right? If they want you. And finally, they wanted Carolina, and Carolina gets to play the Hokies in 2025. But I do think that, I do think there's some things coming up where they do. I think Clemson does play Georgia again in Atlanta in 2024. And they've played A&M, and they've played, Auburn, in those years they don't have Notre Dame. But that Notre Dame thing sort of like, when you play Notre Dame, I mean, it's Notre Dame, Carolina, and then your ACC schedule, basically. I mean, they don't have a lot of flexibility. But, I don't know that Clemson's running away from anything like that. I just think it's kind of how it is. Krager wants a true size on Elijah Davis, yeah. James says, now that we have our OC, can you tell who Beamer did speak to about the position? We know it wasn't Riley, but I was interested if you knew who else. I don't know. I know there were 3 people.
Yeah, there were Loggins. 3 others, right? Yeah, there were 3
others. And Loggins is the only one that ever went far. I mean, other than like a phone call. So I wish I knew who. That would be interesting, but and I would probably say it, but then again, you sit there and go, huh? And then constantly Dowell Loggins is being compared to Coach whatever, and he may be in the Big 12 or something and lighting it up and against no defenses or in the ACC, and Loggins is struggling, and we should add him, that kind of thing. So, but no, yeah. I would actually tell you though, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I just know when Garrett Riley, and look, it was pointed out to me, Spencer Rattler did not come to South Carolina to play in an air raid offense. Garrett Riley's brother benched Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma. I mean, how in the world would that make sense? And like I said, usually I'm of the opinion, you don't sacrifice what could be a really good coaching hire for one guy. But these days, look, man, there is no tomorrow. You could, like I said, you could lose half your roster. You could be fired next year, if things go bad. So you need everybody back that you can get to go load up again and make another run. And, the logic behind any sort of Garrett Riley suit Garrett makes a lot, given those factors, Garrett makes a lot more sense for Clemson than South Carolina. And I'm not saying Dowell Loggins is, Garrett Riley's track record speaks for itself. So does Clemson's, and Dowell Loggins is a kind of an unknown on the college level. That's fine. But, give it a shot.
Well, think about it too, JC. How many elite quarterbacks or quarterbacks that you would say arguably are better than Spencer Rattler were in the portal as of a week ago?
None.
Because if you'd have waited for Riley, you'd have lost Rattler, and then you're looking at, okay, we got Garrett Riley, and who are we going to start? Luke?
Yeah.
I mean, are they?
No doubt.
I'm not saying that Luke wouldn't be a good starter, but, it's just. I think, head to head talent wise, you didn't beat him out. So Spencer started all last year. He's probably going to start all this year. Arguably a better quarterback, and you kept a better one in house. And there was nothing better to get. And if you were going to get Riley, you weren't going to be able to get him when you got Loggins. You would have had a big question mark over your program for 5 weeks.
Look, and I think, hey, Brad Crawford puts on Twitter that he thinks that they're going to use Nicholas Harbor like Jared Cook. I know he didn't.
Where have I heard that before?
Yeah, Brad didn't copy me. He didn't. I know Brad didn't. Brad's good people, man. But no, I agree, and I think I do think things have changed. I do think, from a recruiting standpoint, Dowell Loggins is killing it right now. Yeah. I mean, a player, and look, it's not up to fans to determine whether or not somebody's killing it on the recruiting trail. I mean, you get that information from the players and the commits and the coaches, because, I think that, you could spend anything. Oh, he's only gotten one guy or two guys. Yeah, well, he's a big factor with Trey. I mean, Trey Knox probably wouldn't be at Carolina if it weren't for Dowell Loggins. I think he helped a lot with Michael Smith. You heard him say yesterday that, Arkansas was a team he was really interested in, and then once Coach Loggins came, so here we go. Dowell Loggins had, for a kid from Savannah, Georgia, right? Because Eric Henry was the first one that offered it, like when he was at Carolina a long time ago. So Dowell Loggins, on a kid that Carolina and everybody else offered a long time ago, from coastal Georgia all the way from Arkansas, had Arkansas in the top 2 for this guy. So that kind of tells me, maybe he can recruit. I don't know. I think that maybe, but everybody I told you. Now, look, that doesn't mean, just because you can recruit and everybody likes you and you're a breath of fresh air around the office compared to the other guy, that doesn't mean you're going to dial up genius on 3rd and 8, right? But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, this is one of those Shane Beamer sneaky good kind of things that could happen. Could. I'm not promising it, but I'm warming up to it because you just kind of, the same logic that applies to Spencer Rattler wasn't going to play for Garrett Riley's brother, Lincoln Riley's brother, in the same system that he was in Oklahoma. The same logic applies to, there's probably something about this guy that's pretty good, that's applicable to the college level, given that a major part of coaching at the college level, he's not only embraced but thrived at. So you may be getting a guy that's reinventing himself, but that's a hell of a coach, that has done it in the NFL, but is not, unlike the guy that was in the NFL for a year. Like 2 of those guys have been at Carolina, Kurt Roper and Marcus Satterfield. They're up there for a year as an assistant to an assistant, a copy of a copy of a copy, and they come back and they want to be Andy Reid, cuckoo, cuckoo, right? And so unlike those guys, this is a guy who's up there for 20, double deuce. Is that deuce? Every deuce? I don't know how you say that. But, and so it's a little bit different situation. I understand that. If you look at some of these pro-style offenses these days, they're fun. And I thought that's what they were going to do with Satterfield. And quite frankly, that's what they did do the last 2 games of the season, regular season. And really in the bowl game, too. They were air it out. Jared, remember when they played Alabama and Tommy called Saban and said, "How did you beat us?" Tommy Bowden, man.
How did you
I'll tell you how they beat you, Tommy. They lined up and bloodied your nose.
Yeah.
They stepped on your face with a hobnail boot. We just stepped on their face with a hobnail boot. We broke their nose. There's going to be a touchdown. Oh, my God, a touchdown. I miss Larry Munson so much. Our boy in there, our resident dog fan. You know what I'm talking about, Larry Munson. Or maybe you're too young. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Smith, chimes back in and says on the award-winning Nana Sports chat box, they'll all be looking at that Pac-12, like that Pac-12 ref that called the national title game a couple years ago at the ref convention.
Yeah.
Spot me, bro. Oh,
Spot me, bro.
Games, bro. Games,
Ed
bro.
Ockley is revered as like the patron saint.
Sauter says something about premier subscription to Baby Gap. I think I'm behind. Coach O Heisenbo. Oh, Coach O. Trevor says his alma mater is still trash. Riverside Warriors. They were good at basketball once during the Louis Golden era. Brandon says, JC, do you think Kelvin Hunter comes here? I saw him play in the high school all-star game, and he looked really good in that game. Yeah, Carolina offered him like when he was a freshman. He's from West Florence, as opposed to South Florence, where Lenore Sellers is from. But yes, I think Carolina's tracking pretty good to get him. I think Mazio Bennett, anytime you have a kid visiting a bunch of different schools, and the school he's not visiting from back home starts getting crystal balls, he's gone someplace, and it's like, oh well, he's going to South Carolina. That's the feedback that they've gotten. Clinton Red Devils used to play in the region with the Greenville County schools. It was called the Peach Blossom region. Yep, I think Burns was in there for a while. Burns was there until like 91, and then they went 4A in 92, so it was 3A. Eastside was pretty good when they had Troy Pride, who got drafted to the Carolina Panthers. Didn't he end up at Greer High School his senior year or something? Kid went to Notre Dame.
If he was looking for recognition, that would have been a good move, because Greer, that would be the only arguable team that I think was the powerhouse while we were coming up. And Greenville, if you will, would be Greer. Yeah.
Greer, yeah. Burns and Greer had a nice little rivalry going, and I don't think it's still a big deal for some Greer people and some Burns people, but that was the big rivalry in the 90s.
Yeah.
Phil just...
I still think I can hear the Greer fight song in my head. I heard it so many times over the course of 4 years.
Bro, I saw some of those Greer Wade Hampton scores with Pete Yannity on Friday. There'd be like one highlight, Greer take the opening kick up back, and he's like, and then Greer goes on to roll. Wade Hampton 62-0.
Yeah, over under touchdown scored 8.5. Yeah.
Saunders says he can't get excited about the class of 2025 yet. Me neither. There's a kid in Lake City that you need to keep an eye on that we talked to hell out of, Amari Adams. He's going to be really good. Probably the number one player in the state, but we'll wait and see who else kind of pops up, right? But 2024 is upon us, and I think I thought 2023 was a phenomenal class because especially with how they closed, Big Tree decommits in the midst of the outrage over Dowell Loggins, and that's not why he decommitted at all, but it seemed that way. The sky was falling. Maryland's going to keep him. He and Harbor are sitting next to Kevin Plank at a Maryland basketball game. Everybody's like, crystal balls are coming in for Maryland. Everybody just chilled out, right? Guess what? Big Tree came back in the fold, right? Yeah. And then Carolina didn't lose anybody, high school, JUCO-wise. And they got Elijah Davis over Tennessee. They closed really well. So I thought it was a phenomenal finish. And I was sick during that time, so you guys didn't get to hear me say that enough. I think 2024, you can build on top of that just kind of with there's a handful of additionally good players in the state this year, rankings-wise. I think 2024 could be great. I mean, you start signing like a bunch of 4-stars out of Georgia and a bunch of 4-star and some, a handful of 4-stars out of Florida, and you sign your quota of 3, 4, and 5-star guys out of the DMV, and then own the state. That's a lot of talent coming in, all right? You got to hold on to it, right? Nowadays. Yeah, all right, we're going to hit our break.
Not over.
Don't forget the man of the hour, Jamie Bradford's coming up on the other side, and we're excited, certainly. Once again, if you didn't miss it, you're just tuning in. The big announcement was Jamie Bradford joining the show as a co-host. We're now going to be a power trio starting 1 week from today, next Wednesday. But we'll have, obviously, Jamie on after the top of the hour break. We're going to take another break right now and be back inside the Gamecocks. The show rolls on. Hey, man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
You know what, Phil? Let's ask Stone Blanton.
Hey, JC and Phil, if you want a solution to your IT problems, give Heritage Digital a call. Our boy Matt Odom has a low-cost, one-price solution that will get you running right. Call 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com and ask for Matt. He will hook you up today and tell them Stone sent you.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
This is freshman All-American Nicky Memorial of the Carolina Gamecocks, and you are listening to The Show with JC and Phil.
Welcome back, everybody. Inside the Gamecocks, the show is presented to you by Express Sunrooms of Columbia. 803-446-4662 to get in touch with them to talk about a potential porch enclosure or patio enclosure for your home. And the first hour of the show is, as always, brought to you by Cindy Searpulse and the Coldwell Banker Kane Realty team here in the Upstate. Give Cindy a call for all your Upstate residential real estate needs. 864-414-5271. You know that last spot we play, I always enjoy it at the end there after Nick talks, because when the sound in the back is like, you can hear like crackles as if it were playing on a vinyl. And I get mesmerized by the little vinyl crackles in the background of that, probably because I get to hear it so intently in my headphones.
I'm with you there.
I love it.
I'm actually with you. I've actually noticed that. I like all the little music. I wish.
Yeah, they're great, man.
I got it all off the same site, the same daggum site that the Irish folk thing.
That we're getting dinged on for that.
Did you know I noticed at the end of the scroll today, because I'll catch the scroll because I like the jam, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, right before it cuts off, there's like a vocal. Like
it begins singing at the end. I know.
He starts singing at the end. I'm like, I'm gonna rock that. I'm gonna put it on my my Apple Music and listen to it in the car, and then at the end I'll come in with I'm gonna make the boys listen to it every day because it's just long enough that it'll fit the ride to at least the high school, right?
Oh yeah.
Because one goes to the main high school, one goes to the 9th grade high school. You've seen that concept around.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's just long enough, about 6 minutes long for the drive to the high school. So what I'm gonna do every morning while they were looking at their phones and not wanting to have awkward conversations with this old man, you know, I'm just gonna, when I crank up the car, it's going to crank up that music. And then we're just going to listen to it the whole way to school. Full blast. Skinner on full blast. By the way, I'm working on getting Cornbread Cowboy on the show.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Just any of you that follow that Instagram account. And my friend Skipper points this out the other day because I sent it to Dina, Phil's wife, and Skipper and me are all in a group text. So I sent it to the group text, right? And Skipper makes a good point. He's like, eventually they're going to run out of ideas, but right now this is comedic gold. And those of you that don't know, maybe I'll have Phil pull up a picture or something. I'm working on getting him on. Also working on Brandon Walker from Barstool Sports.
Yeah.
We're trying to get him on. I think Brandon is a really good voice in college football. I think he knows his stuff, but he's also hilarious. and makes great. I mean, he's the one that went on the rant about Clemson playing for Jesus or whatever. Remember that rant he went on? He's like, we're just down here playing for Jesus. He's like, whatever. At least I'm not. He called him a cult. I mean, he got into it, man. But other than his Clemson rant, I think the guy, he's sort of maybe a little more, I would consider him kind of like an R-rated or at least PG-13 version of Josh Pate, as far as, you know, the voices in this business that I really admire. So I'm working on getting him on here, you know, and we'll see. We'll see. Meredith says, I feel like JB should get a welcome home post from Shane Beamer. Yes. Sonder asks, Kelton Henderson's rating steadily decreased. I don't think it is, you know, I don't know. I mean, he went to the Under Armour game, had a pretty good practice or two, and then dropped completely out of the ESPN 300. I think it's this. I think it's because he committed early. You heard nothing about his recruitment. He's sort of out of sight, out of mind, and that's the deal. And when you always want to move people up, right? You're always finding guys to move up. Well, he needs to move up. He needs to move up. But the law of gravity says what goes up must come down. And so somebody's got to go down. And so sometimes that's a guy like Kelton Henderson who, you know, pretty good film. Film got him there. Film kept him there. It doesn't change the fact he's a really good prospect and a good player. It's just he gets pushed down because there's nothing remarkable to really I don't want to say remarkable, but there's not, you know, it's just guys like that, you know, they're easy to move down. Oh, he's been committed to South Carolina for a while. Nobody's going to hear anything bad about it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Noracle says, what do you think the theory that Georgia, the better Georgia do, they'll recruit better nationally and opens up opportunities for regionally for Carolina? I think so. I think Georgia's doing a really good job in their state still. I questioned it for a little bit. Like, I was like, well, you know, when you start getting kind of outside of your state and going down, but they take the right guys nationally. I mean, when Kylie Ringo went to Georgia, I was like, kid from, you know, because I got burnt a lot with Arizona defensive backs that I ranked highly that weren't very good. Kylie Ringo's pretty good though, right? You know, they've coached him up. So, and then they got Bowers from California. They got they're one of the running backs, Milton's from California. They've gone up the East Coast a little. But you're right. You know, there's so many good players in Georgia that, you know, it's different than, it's almost like Ohio, right? Except for there's more players. And there's a bunch of players. If you ever look at any Big Ten roster, a bunch of players from Ohio's kind of like the breadbasket of Big Ten talent. They can't all go to Ohio State, and Ohio State also goes nationally. And so you get guys that from Ohio end up in the NFL, going to places like Michigan and Michigan State, and I mean Cincinnati and Illinois and Iowa, all those places in the Midwest. So Georgia's probably got about 15% more high-end guys in their state. You do have to battle the rest of the SEC. The SEC schools actually take more kids out of Georgia than any other state, including Florida and Texas. So any other state in their footprint, right? So you're going to have to battle, but you could find some really, really good players. I mean, it's a – people talk about being close to Georgia as like a hindrance for South Carolina. I think it's a blessing because it's not so much the University of Georgia, it's the state of Georgia. And – you know, just like Clemson being really good and not recruiting South Carolina as much, helped some pretty good in-state guys come to South Carolina. You know, so it works both ways. Only so many spots. Churchill thought the same thing about Garrett Riley if you're trying to keep Spencer. 76 says, I'm thinking Dowell Loggins could be compared to being a wise investment. Landed someone at the right time. They'll pay huge dividends and rep us very well, both in recruiting and on the field. Yeah, that's the thing. And I kind of like I would be a little bit more, and look, I still have like I said, I'm not jumping on I'm not pouring myself a cold Dowell Loggins and toasting the morning here. We'll see. We've been through this we've been through offensive coordinators here before that were very disappointing. Okay, but what I like about it compared to a guy that maybe was just like, oh, I'm in the NFL, I'm going to go coach in college now, and then go back to the NFL or whatever, is that he left the NFL. I mean, he could have gotten on as a quarterback's coach somewhere or whatever. You don't last 20 years up there and then not have a job. Good Lord, they recycle head coaches like crazy too, right?
Yeah, right.
Or if you're under the age of 34 and coach quarterbacks, you're going to get a head coaching job up there.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah.
That they won't head coaches that
ridiculous. It's just like we'll bring them in that way. They're familiar with the way these guys played in college, and it was like the game still at its most base level has not changed.
Yeah,
ask Kyler Murray.
Yeah, no doubt. You can ask Kyler Murray. And Cliff Kingsbury's like, I'm going to Thailand for
going to Thailand. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to disappear to Thailand.
I hope my fiance's not listening right now, but that dude could do some serious damage in Thailand.
Oh, I'm sure.
In my opinion. There's a lot of, like, those tropical islands and stuff. Oh, my God. So, anyway, Cliff Kingsbury disappears. It's coaching in the NFL sucks that bad. But Dowell went from, he could have gone on next NFL city, whatever, after the thing with the Giants didn't work out. But the dude goes and takes an analyst job at Penn State, right, with James Franklin and Yurchich. And then, Sam Pittman calls. Arkansas is his alma mater, and he goes there and coaches tight ends. This is not a guy that's coming in here NFL arrogant like, I don't know, the last guy who was only in the NFL for a year. This guy's coming in, and it seems like as a coach, he's decided to reinvent himself and work his way up. Right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In a lower level of football. So, I mean, he didn't just come in and demand to be the head coach because he's from the NFL. And all that, man, he was an analyst and a tight ends coach. And got after it and busted his ass in recruiting. It still is. And now he's got so this to me is a guy that's got an opportunity. That's built himself back up on another level of the game. That doesn't mean it's going to work out, right? I'm just saying. James says if Dowell's successful at Carolina, he could be the next Arkansas head coach. I agree.
Yeah, that's what you're worried about. You need to just pray for sustained success at Arkansas for the next few years.
Yeah, or not. If you're not happy with the offense,
if you don't like it, that's right. Yeah, now we'll make a determination on what we're praying for after the end of this season.
Yeah, you get there and you go, you're making fake names on the Arkansas message board like Snufflehogglus and stuff, sausage. There was one Arkansas message board. The Arkansas is funny, like the piggy ones. They're hilarious. Mm-hmm. Ones like, inspired sausage and stuff like that. You're like, wow. Anyway.
Let's take a break.
Yeah, I was Brian Blind Scrolls. Did you see what he just did? I don't know. We'll go from there. And a lot of catching up to do on the Nana Sports chat box, but they're still rocking and rolling. All right, we'll be back after these messages inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit TonyPope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Whoop, whoop, easy. He's got a tiger by the tail, he has.
He better hang on too.
People have spoken. Nana's Porch was voted the third best food truck or trailer by the Charlotte newspaper Public Poll. Also, their pimento cheese took third in a contest exclusively for products made in the state of North Carolina. I will let Noah Hall tell you about the rest. Nana's Porch, Southern cuisine with an uptown twist. If you're in the upstate of South Carolina and are in need of residential real estate services, Cindy Bass Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane is for you. Ask her about the Village at Creekside, all of her listings in my hometown of Spartanburg, South Carolina, right there on Daniel Morgan Avenue, married to a lifelong Gamecock fan. And many of our listeners have already bought homes from her and been 100% satisfied with the detail and care she uses. Cindy Searfoss, 864-414-5271, Caldwell Banker Kane in the upstate for your real estate needs.
This is Braylon Wimmer, South Carolina Gamecock Baseball, and you are listening to Inside the Gamecocks, the show with JC and Phil. Go Cox!
And tip our hats and raise our glasses of cold beer. They say country.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, everybody. The show is presented to you by Express Sunrooms in Columbia. Give John Barber and his team a call, 803-446-4662. They'll be happy to talk to you about a new sunroom addition for your house. And we're joined now on the McKellar Enterprises guest line, but not for necessarily too much longer, seeing as how you're coming on board. Welcome aboard, JB. Happy to have you in. Start this power trio here.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's excited about it, and appreciate y'all considering me to have some fun with y'all every day for a couple of hours, and hopefully everybody else is excited about it too. But we've kind of been working on this for a little while, and excited to get rolling next week.
Yeah, man. Zane, I'm excited to have you on the team.
Realistic Joel says immediately, Meat Church needs to become a sponsor. Great hat. Meat Church. All right. Yeah. Desmondita says apparently the Cornbread Cowboy. Do you know who the Cornbread Cowboy is, Jamie? Have you seen this on Instagram? This guy, he's a Gamecock fan, but he's kind of like a content creator. He's got the Jomo hat on, and he's got he wears shirts that say like Skinner on full blast. Well, I'm working on getting him on the show.
Okay.
So, but apparently he was at the Royal American in Charleston, and they stopped the kitchen so everyone could get a picture with him. This guy's going viral, so I need to know more about it. So we talked about you coming on board earlier, and just to reiterate, everybody's really excited about it, and certainly,
cool.
This show's taken a step forward, I think, when we start doing that. Yesterday, South Carolina, I guess. It's weird because I think that if we were not in the transfer portal era, and we were not in the NIL era and all this other stuff that's going on around college football, Gamecock fans or any fan base would be like cutting cartwheels right now with the way the 2024 recruiting cycle started, and also the way 2023 ended, at least with high school guys. Your thoughts on getting a 4-star tight end out of Georgia that a lot of other schools really wanted, and looks like a really good player in Michael Smith.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think it's that big of a big deal, really, to add talent. Don't really need it. They didn't get Garrett Riley, so that's really all that matters. Clemson got him, and I'll stand by my man Mark on that one. Mr. Inside Source himself, a guy that can't get credentialed at South Carolina, can't get an interview with anybody who actually knows what's going on at South Carolina, but yet he's got inside sources. So, okay. Right. I think what you're actually seeing is what has kind of been building for, a little over 2 years. When they hired Coach Beamer, I think one of the things that was exciting for most who had understood his background, right? And as a recruiter, as a former coach at South Carolina, as a guy who has spent a lot of time with a lot of excellent coaches across the country, was that, we kind of all knew, and JC, you knew this was one of the first things you pointed out when Shane did get hired on our program was that he'll get players here, and he's going to make sure that he hires a staff that can bring players in, and then from there it'll be up to them to develop these guys, right? And so, but we have to remember something with recruiting. It doesn't always work like this, but sometimes you get in late on a kid or two or whatever it is, and you kind of hit it off and you sign that guy. But generally, unless you're one of the historic programs in college football, in order to build a great class and then keep it consistent, it takes some time to really dig your roots into these high schools and into these families and into their living rooms and all those type things. So, they've kind of been working on what looks like it's going to end up probably being a pretty good 24 class for a while. I mean, they started getting these relationships a couple of years ago by bringing kids in on unofficials, bringing kids into camp, going out and spending time at every high school in the state and then beyond its borders. I mean, Shane and Coach Muschamp have very similar thoughts, which are exactly right in the fact that Savannah, Jacksonville, Atlanta, Charlotte, places like that are kind of all an extension of the state of South Carolina. Like, you've got to be able to recruit those areas to be successful, in addition to what actually defines your borders. And then you also have to be able to go other areas and establish relationships there. And oftentimes it takes coaches who already have relationships in other areas, like the DC area or somewhere further west or something like that, to be able to do so. So, you start kind of, identifying these kids, and then you spend a couple of years recruiting them. And if you've got the right people in place who understand how to recruit to your school, at some point in time, you hope that will pay off. And so what it looks like here is that, this is paying off after 2+ years, and he's been pretty consistent with the staff. A lot of these guys that he hired are still here, and then he's hired other guys that kind of meshed well and understand it. So I think it's bigger than just Michael Smith, and that's no disrespect to that young man at all. And it's bigger than Cam Pringle, although not much is, because he's 6'7", 330 pounds. But I think that is the start that you need, because JC, you've covered recruiting for 2 decades, right? I mean, when kids, they know what's going on, especially in today's world. They all go to camp together. They communicate in 1,000 different ways with social media and all these things. And now they're seeing it. They're like, well, man, there's a lot of good players signing at South Carolina. Maybe I should take a little bit of a closer look. I know Coach Beamer or Coach Hardesty or whomever, but maybe I should see why all these guys are choosing to become Gamecocks. So it can kind of snowball, and then from there you have to understand how to maintain it, which we did not do under Coach Spurrier. But Shane Beamer knows what he's doing on that end, and it's a pretty exciting time.
Gamecocks have early only 3 commits, but the 11th ranked class in the country. Wendell Gregory, of course, 4-star linebacker out of Marietta Walton, is committing on Friday. Good chance the Gamecocks get him. Mazio Bennett, the Greenville High wide receiver who was committed to Tennessee, continues to get crystal ball predictions for him. I think Josiah Thompson is safe to say he's a heavy Gamecock lean.
Sure.
And then there's some other guys. I mean, they'll keep stacking guys and finding guys. Braylon Lee is a 4-star corner from Desmond Umeozulu School in Maryland that I think probably you could say the Gamecocks are in the lead for. And then, 5-star DN Dylan Stewart from DC as well. I was told that one's going to be a heck of a battle, but the Gamecocks are right in the middle of that one too. So and you're right. You're absolutely correct about this, JB. It does take time to lay groundwork and relationships, and many times, your first class is just kind of so-so because you're kind of there and putting it together quick, and then second class is a little bit better, third class is a little bit better, and then I guess, gosh, are we already on Beamer's 2024 is Beamer's 4th class? Yeah, I guess so.
3.5.
20, yeah, because he came in 21. Yeah, I mean, he for 21 and 22, they basically only got no time to recruit for 21 on the road, especially. It was all over the phone and Zoom. And then for 2022, it didn't start. They couldn't really get out on the road until June of that year anyway. So they were even behind as far as FaceTime and stuff, or not FaceTime on your phone, but FaceTime in person with I don't know how to say it, because all this
Real
technology,
human interpersonal reaction.
human interpersonal reaction, right? So you
Yeah.
got that. They didn't really have a lot of time for that either for 2022, but it's coming around, and you're right. The recruitment of Cam Pringle and Josiah Thompson and guys like that started the day they walked in the door.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how you got to do it these days.
Well, it is, and it's also I think something that is really necessary to point out with I don't know the inside and out of other programs, but I do understand at South Carolina, everything is very much a team effort up there, and so while you are all coaches are assigned territories and things of that nature, they also kind of piggyback on each other to do whatever it takes to get the job done. With that said, though, you have to make sure that when you have a coach who's assigned a territory, that not only are they doing their job, but they're doing it well. And so, for Coach Beamer, I mean, one of the things, I think I've mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again. I know that, Coach Hardesty has received, criticism for, not being able to recruit well and things like that, because we can't see the specific names tied to his name, or at least a large number of them. And that's fair. I'm not saying anybody's wrong at all to say things like that. There's a lot of truth in it, certainly. But at the same time, when your coaches walk into a school, they're the impression that school is going to get of your program. Okay, so if Montario Hardesty walks into a school, or Pete Limbo, or it doesn't matter, anybody that's on that staff, they're representatives of the University of South Carolina. And so it's their job, if they don't know those coaches in that high school, if they don't know the kids in that high school, the administrators, whomever it is, to make sure that they make a favorable impression from the get-go, and that they begin to establish some relationships and inroads, because it might not necessarily be that person that needs to recruit a kid at that school to play in his whatever group he coaches, position group he coaches at South Carolina. But if he's made the inroad for the program, that's when you can kind of go back and develop the plan internally at Carolina to say, okay, well, this is a young man that we want. He's in this guy's territory, and these are the dudes that need to make sure that we're constantly communicating with him and developing and growing and establishing those relationships. So it's a team effort. It's a lot of work for all those coaches. There's no question about it. But, so far, I mean, you can't really argue with the results. They've done an outstanding job.
Yeah, and I think you're right. The relationships are everything, because all recruiting decisions fundamentally come down to comfort level. Where are you most comfortable? And a lot of things factor into it, because some people are like, well, I guess the snarky response from fans was, well, Muschamp's so good at building these relationships while these guys go everywhere else. Well, because comfort level, it's not just about who do you like the best for a player. I mean, your comfort level could be off the charts relationship with a coach wise, but you're uncomfortable because the facilities are bad, or you're uncomfortable because the team doesn't win, or you're uncomfortable because the fan base is toxic on Twitter, right? That's happened before too, not at Carolina, but other places. So I think this staff does an exceptional job of marching toward being the choice as it relates to that comfort level. They're not going to get everybody. Some guys are going to go elsewhere. Don't get me wrong, but I will say that it's one of those things where they're going to get their share and more if they continue to recruit like this. And you're absolutely right. They're other prospects look and they see it and they're like, well, South Carolina's in the top 10 right now, and Dante Reno's all over Twitter talking good about them, and they're in on these 5-star guys from Maryland or whatever. That kind of gets people's attention. And I'll say one more thing about 2024 specifically. Hats off to Ray Tanner, and nobody's going to say this. No one will say this right now, with the fan base. But hats off to Ray Tanner and Chance Miller and those guys for the light job at Williams-Brice, because that thing took the atmosphere for night games to the next level. And everybody always says, well, current year recruits. Oh, well, this guy's here, so, but he watched us lose, so we're going to lose. That's the big impact with these home games. Texas A&M, the opener, Tennessee. Those big home games this year. The impact on recruiting probably came with 2024. right? Because they're the kids that are sitting there, and it's not, they're in their junior year. They're kind of formulating those opinions of the program. And wow, you look at it and, it's a rock concert, right?
Yeah, but I mean, guys, I think y'all agree when I say this, right? I mean, while we want to credit the administration for the things like that, that's recency bias in my mind. I mean, Coach Muschamp even mentioned, a couple of years ago, and Coach Beamer mentioned it as soon as he was hired. It feels like it's been longer than it has been, but all of the facilities that now surround Williams-Brice Stadium have not been there very long. Right. I mean, they've really only been functional for a couple of years because when they got built, COVID hit. And so you couldn't even use it. Like, you could not use it to your advantage for down the road. And now, I had a conversation with somebody about this not too long ago, and it was, well, everybody has those now. Sure. But that's why they call it keeping up with the Joneses, because if you don't, you're behind. And if you're a power program, you can get away with stuff like that. But if you're a Kentucky or a South Carolina or a Mississippi State or one of these blue-collar programs is trying to kind of crack that next level of football, or any sport for that matter, these are the things that you have to have in order to compete. I mean, it might sound silly at times, do you really need an arcade? Do you really need a movie theater? Do we really need the Darius Rucker recording studio? Well, not really. But, it's kind of like jewelry. I mean, it looks good when you got it on. You don't have to have it. But it looks good. Some people look at that and they're like, man, chick's got a nice, watch on. So, I mean, it's very, it's very similar. And so in this administration and many others, I know Eric Nichols has now moved on, but there are a lot of people in that building that are still there, of course, under the leadership of Coach Tanner and Chance Miller. And, you can look back over the last decade and it's crazy to think this, because in today's world, we think minute to minute, moment to moment, second to second, day to day. It almost seems like way too long. We got to have our answers right now. We got to have our results right now. 10 years ago, this is what they were anticipating. Man, once we can, okay, well, now we got to get through the design phase. Now we got to get through the funding phase. And now we got to get through the building phase. And then we got to get the damn thing open. And then we got to get kids into it. And then we got to get the kids into it that it's going to take a little while to actually recruit them. But, they knew this was going to take a while. And it did, because that's what it does. It's not Legos. You can't just build it with a box and a little pamphlet of instructions. It takes some time. And now, it's kind of all coming together a little bit, if that makes sense. And if you've got the right people in place, as somebody in the program told me not long ago, they said, if you've got the right people in place and you've got all these things that you need, you can do it. And now they still got to go out and win games. They got another season coming up, and certainly you never know what can happen there. But it's the off season, and we're talking about off season things, and so far so good.
What impact do you think? I mean, just as a change in landscape, because just sitting here thinking, and you mentioned it before, Jamie, was the influence of other recruits on potentials. And having access that they never have had, to each other in the past. When we look back on the Muschamp era, and, there were some plenty good recruiting classes during that. Who were the vocal leaders of those classes, though? We've got Dante Reno for 2024, who is an obvious vocal leader for the recruiting, side of things right now. Pup Howard last year, I think was probably, and I would imagine that the coaching staff would also say, instrumental in getting the guys in for 23 that we have. But looking back on that Muschamp era, I don't ever remember hearing that.
Well, I one name comes to mind specifically for me, and that's Luke Doty. I mean, Luke was very, very, very loud about trying to sign the best players in this state, and those that he came across with. It would take a little bit of a thought for me beyond that, but certainly I remember Luke Doty's recruitment very well because he wanted to be a Gamecock. He committed. And from there, y'all remember that? I mean, y'all remember his recruitment? After he committed, crickets, right? I mean, it was quiet, man.
Anything. There was nothing.
There was nothing going on. I mean, he told everybody, I am a Gamecock. That's what I am. And now I'm recruiting young guys to come play with me. And, I don't want to, I'm sure I'm missing somebody, Phil, but it does seem more today than so in the past that these guys overall have really formed a public bond. I'm sure they have a bond privately, right? But they allow us to see it in public via social media, and that's kind of the feel good that makes the waves through the fan base. It almost looks like these guys all grew up together. They didn't, but they certainly are doing a pretty good job of making it look like that.
Yeah, forming that relationship early, right? Yeah, I mean that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it really. Some of those Muschamp classes, I call them Pied Piper recruits. They're kind of the ringleader of your class. It's like they become like almost like a player recruiter. And Luke Doty was one of those guys, but then there weren't a lot of other ones. It all almost. I'm trying to think of anybody else that maybe came in early, because a lot of it came down to a late decision, that kind of thing. But you've had Pup Howard in the 2023 class, and now Dante Reno in 2024. And I see guys too. Like, I'll say this: Montague Rames was not coming to South Carolina. He was going to NC State. Because he was worried about winning and all this stuff, and Taylor Edwards and through the transition from Mike Peterson to Sterling Lucas, they completely turned it. And now this guy's all over the place, and he's enrolled. Obviously, he's a player right now, but this guy's all over everybody's. Nick Harbor, hey man, when you're coming to Carolina, do the right thing, man.
Yeah, kind of putting the pressure on you.
So hats off to the staff. This staff for really being able to turn situations and go close the deal. Go close the deal.
Yeah, and I'll throw one other name in there. I know DeCarrion Joyner was instrumental in some young men coming to South Carolina as well. He's those. We can all argue. I'm sure, and I know it's time for a break. We can all argue a lot of things about guys like DeCarrion and Luke as to whether they should be playing, where they should be playing. Both of those young men have moved positions. I remember when they moved Luke to wide receiver. Heck, they'd even talked about some defensive stuff at one point in time for him. To carry on, we know his story, but the one thing that you cannot have a conversation about those guys without also saying in-state kids, outstanding humans. Love Carolina, and they're two of the leaders on the team right now. I mean, Spencer Rattler's your starting quarterback, but Luke Doty carries a lot of weight in the locker room. DeCarrion Joyner carries a lot of weight in the locker room, and their actions have met their words, because both of these guys in today's world, I would call them transfer candidates, no question about it. I know that Luke was blown up by other schools about them wanting him to leave and go play quarterback at their institutions. Certainly DeCarrion has had his opportunities, and where are they? So they're both at Carolina, and they're trying to lead this program back to what Coach Spurrier proved that could happen here, and they believe it can, and obviously the head coach does as well. So I just give them such a round of applause, because they're just great kids with great families, and they sure as hell are great Gamecocks. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely, and I think
and Brandon's right. Ryan Helinski did the same thing. Ryan was pretty vocal on social media.
I forgot about Ryan. Yeah, I forgot about
he's
Ryan
right.
with that.
He's right. Good point.
That's good. Yeah, you're right about that. All right, we got to get a break. First break of the final hour of the day here on Celebration Wednesday. As we announced that the show is becoming a power trio starting next Wednesday. We can't wait for that, as Jamie's going to join us full time. We're fired up. All right, we'll be back after these messages. Hey, man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
Oh, I feel that, man. My head hurts, but I have a good lead on a good idea. I'm calling your boy Matthew Odom today from Heritage Digital. Heritage Digital is an IT firm that specializes in making sure your IT network runs like a dream. If you have 1 or 500 employees, it doesn't matter. They do it all for one monthly fee and have clients from South Carolina all the way to California.
Yeah, I heard that monthly fee's low too, so I don't know why I didn't even think of that. Do you have 843-699-1001 as Matt's contact number?
Yeah, man, I sure do that. Or you can go to heritagedigital.com.
Man, I hear they do a no-cost assessment. Boy, this will help me.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm getting on that and encouraging everyone else to do the same. Heritage Digital, 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com, a proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
You can't handle the truth. Gamecock Nation, do you need a place to stay for the big game? Many hotel booking engines keep all the commissions, but at Fan Plans, you support Inside the Gamecocks, still earn your hotel loyalty points, and you receive an email with direct confirmation from the hotel. Whether you are visiting Columbia to cheer on Carolina or hitting the road to follow the team, get in the stands with Fan Plans.
Yep, time to get back to the show. Shoot. All right, my man.
Welcome back into Inside the Gamecocks, the show, everybody. Presented to you by Express Sunrooms in Columbia, 803-446-4662, or John B. at expresssunrooms.com are the ways to get in touch with them. They'll be happy to talk to you about what it is that they can do to get more sun into your life at home.
Yeah, there's no sun here.
Yeah, right. Same.
I'm watching the snowfall outside. It's kind of pretty. I'm waiting for like a reindeer to come galloping across the yard or something.
I would rather be in your weather. I haven't seen snow yet this year, so I'd like to see some for a couple of days and then let it move on.
We have not had a bunch of snow this year, but the last year that was like this, I think my second year up here, no snow, and then February hits, and it snowed all month, like up to the mailbox. That's when I had to go buy a snowblower because I'm dumb. Like I walked outside, it's kind of like Independence Day where Will Smith walks out, and the neighbors are moving out because of the alien ship, and he just picks up the paper, and I'm looking, I'm like, why are these people out here at 7:00 in the morning shoveling their driveway? I'm like, it's just snow. It's gonna melt. It's gonna melt tomorrow anyway. It's gonna melt tomorrow anyway. Well, what tomorrow? Why they do it? And then fiance's like, oh, I gotta go shovel. I'm like, why? Why, baby? It's gonna melt tomorrow anyway. No, JC. No. It has to be above freezing for it to melt. Okay.
Yeah, generally that's how it works. Yep.
And so, as the man around here, I was probably expected to shovel, but that's not part of my culture. Okay. And so I was like, it's not in my culture. Okay. So I was like, I was like, it's going to melt tomorrow, So 2 days later, poor Nat in her car, a 2003 Mercedes SUV that keeps running like a champion. The seat warmer's still working it, by the way. Her mom gave it to her. It's awesome. But anyway, it gets stuck. The wagon gets stuck out there. I had a four-wheel drive truck at the time, but she got stuck. And she was stuck for days. Stuck for days. We finally got her out of the driveway, out of the sheet of ice and snow that was packed like a ski resort because I didn't get out there and shovel the first day. And I was wondering why everybody, I was like, these people are crazy. They've lost their mind. It's just a little snow. No. So I go and buy what's called a snow blower, right? It's like a lawnmower, but for snow.
Yeah, we know what they are. Yeah,
and it's
may not use one, but we've heard of them.
Well, unfortunately, you got to direct the blower to blow it over on those. It's an art. But when it's really windy, and you don't have a face mask on, and the snow's just blowing right back at your face, like that is a miserable feeling. So I'm hopeful. it doesn't get to that, but I'm going to have to probably go snow blow the driveway later today so the cars don't get stuck. So anyway, that's my story about snow blowing.
Surely there's a service you could use to handle that for you, right?
There is.
Probably charge an arm and a leg, don't they?
Yeah, I can only imagine.
It's the Sanchez land, because they do cut our grass for us. but they're not all that good at blowing snow. Really good at cutting the grass, not good at blowing snow. I think they're just getting into the snow blowing thing. But anyway, yeah, it's coming down like The Shining. So red rum.
That weather report, by the way, is brought to you by Express Sunrooms. Call John Barber for your next all glass sunroom to watch the snow come down.
Backyard thing. Blind Squirrel says Chicago sucks, but at least y'all got Portillo's. Yeah, I'll probably got some Portillo's later.
JC, correct, not to get too far off topic here, but I have been told numerous times that Chicago in the spring is really, really, really nice. Like once it's finally cracked into spring, not like traditional spring, like April.
It's not
May.
like our spring. Yeah,
Right.
Mayish, it starts to get warm, and early summer's good. Fall's not bad either. I mean,
but I've heard Chicago in the summer is scorching too. So
it is. It's very humid. Downtown, sometimes you'll get down in the 70s when there's cloud cover because it's right there on the lake. But yeah, it's very humid here. But it's not like our spring. Our spring starts in February in South Carolina, you know. But
no, well, that's not true. Like I was texting Monty the other day, and I said, Monty, you know how it works. Opening day, it's going to be about 33 degrees. Not cold enough to change it to snow you out. It's going to be raining. Not enough rain to wash you out. Just that piss you off kind of rain. And it's about 33, 35 degrees. It happens every year on opening day in college baseball. It's like the baseball guys. They're the best, but they're also like, yeah, that's all right. We're gonna toughen you up on day one here.
I totally get that completely, and that I've seen those games too. And occasionally, like in April,
brutal.
you'll have like an SEC series. Usually not in Columbia, but sometimes like someplace else, like in Kentucky, Tennessee, something like that. It's a little cooler, but
it snowed in Lexington the last couple of years. Carolina went up there, and it was like, well, we're going to double dip it on Saturday. We've got 6 inches of snow on the ground today. That's why Kentucky finally put the turf in and rebuilt that place. They looked more like an erector set than it did a baseball stadium, but they've got a new one, so congratulations to them.
Speaking of Portillo's, Blind Squirrel, and then we'll get off this subject. Have you guys seen Tiger King, that documentary?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you know the dude's husband with the missing tooth? He had like a tattoo on his belly that said privately owned by Joe Exotic.
Yeah,
my belly,
nice.
Since I've been up here, I need to get a tattoo on it that says privately owned by Portillo's. Because Portillo's owns this gut. Portillo's owns the gut. Beef sandwich. I don't just say beef sandwich. I stand by what I say. I think gobble one of those up.
I think that the Tiger King is privately owned in prison right now, isn't he?
By probably multiple people.
Multiple tigers.
Might be public ownership up there.
Did you get? All right, so
the guy in Myrtle Beach, got indicted too. He's
going to prison for like human trafficking, apparently he's like keeping chicks in slavery, bondage on his animal farm. I'm like, that's a weird dude, man. It's right there in Myrtle Beach.
You know, I've got a friend that her parents live up in. They're in Myrtle Beach. They're two rows off of, Ocean Boulevard.
Mm.
And they took he's got a Mr. Lee. I think it's a 35-foot. It's not a yacht, but it's more of a it's more of like a houseboat. I mean, it's you could call it a yacht if you wanted to, but they were cruising down the ICW a couple of summers ago, and what did they come across? That guy riding his elephant in the Intercoastal Waterway. The elephant? They took him down to the waterway, and he was just taking a bath, just walking through the ICW.
And there's water moccasins and alligators, and everything else would bite the hell out of that elephant. I guess elephants hang out with crocodiles.
Salt water. You're not going to get
water. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, it's I guess I'm mixing that up. But yeah, I mean,
the elephant. Mm-hmm.
I thought you were about to say he was riding the elephant naked, and then I'd have been like, that's kind of bizarre, you know.
Well, not that I'm aware.
Come to me, my jungle friends. Hello.
I'd find it shocking if that had never happened.
Well, the latest thing is that Carol Baskin's husband is allegedly alive.
I heard
he's
that
not?
rumor. Yeah. That
Well,
he's
no,
not.
she came out and said something about it. And I'm like, God, that's. We watched that and the Michael Jordan Bulls documentary got me
That's
through the
fantastic.
pandemic, though.
Yeah,
it was outstanding. Baseball season right around the corner. Be sure to tune in to the show on opening day as the Gamecocks take on UMass Amherst. We're going to have a big blowout baseball special with multiple guests and just kind of, celebrate opening day. It only comes around once a year, and certainly at Carolina, baseball matters a whole lot. So be sure to check us out there. All right, we're going to hit our final break, guys, and then come back and wrap it up. Wednesday edition.
Totally worthless.
Yep. Yeah, we just talked about Portillo's and beef and Tiger King.
In your belly button, I know.
And nude elephant riding. That's awesome. All right, back after these messages.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is Pitcher Noah Hall. If you want some delicious food for your event, I suggest visiting nanasporch.com today to find out what they all have to offer. It's really good Southern cuisine based out of Charlotte, my hometown. I hope you guys go check it out. Go Cox and go Nanas.
I've been expecting you, Mr. Powers.
Sometime in the near future, there's a good chance I'll move back to my home area of the upstate of South Carolina. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's nobody I would use to help me find a new home except Cindy Bass-Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane, located in my hometown of Spartanburg, Daniel Morgan Avenue, married to a diehard Gamecock. 864-414-5271. Give Cindy a call. 864-414-5271. A proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it, let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hey, Mo Cowboy here from the Carolina Gamecocks. You're listening to Inside the Gamecocks, the show with JC and Phil.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, everybody. Presented to you by Express Sunrooms of Columbia. Give John Barber and his team a call, 803-446-4662, to discuss a potential backyard retreat for your home. And if you missed our last segment, you can go back and check it out, because were we a terrestrial radio station, that would be what we would submit for our Marconi.
All right.
Amazing.
And that brings me to my next point. Don't smoke crack.
That's right. That's right, kids. Don't
drugs
do
are bad.
Drugs are bad. Pointed out by LT and the Water Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy. Don't smoke crack.
Yeah.
LT.
That brings me to our next point.
Robert used to live in Chicago. He said he survived the blizzard of 79. It was a 28-inch blizzard and then a 12-inch blizzard the week before.
Oof, yeah.
The horror. I mean,
Yeah,
you
I
guys
was in-
are really... Go ahead.
No, I was in about a 12-inch one in Wyoming for Christmas in 2017, which was neat to see, but it was exciting to fly home as well. Of course, when we flew home, landed, and then January 2nd we got 6 to 8 inches of snow here in Charleston. So I was like, "Yeah, be kidding me!" Like, I went to Wyoming to see you. I don't want to see you now, but
you brought it back with you.
It was here. Yeah, I remember the snow in '89 on Christmas very well. Matter of fact, my dad in his concrete coring truck hooked a chain to the back of it and towed us around on hydro slides. Pretty safe.
Yeah.
But we made it out.
Bet you had a great time though.
My dad owned a video store that big snow in the late 80s in the upstate, and we had to drive from Spartanburg to Greenville through it in a minivan to the video store. But they did, I mean, the video store just being open, people were coming up there on skis and stuff. I mean, they didn't have anything to rent. I mean, you were out. Like you like there was no copies of like Mannequin, St. Elmo's Fire, name your 80s pod. Top Gun was all out. You had to go back to like the classic section. Yeah, Back to the Future. There were no cartoons left because the kids were everybody's there like with 5 Smurfs videos. Like, please help me, God. So that was kind of fun. Gamecock basketball tonight. I think we better talking about the Blizzard, but Portillo's, but. Gamecocks go to Gainesville. Strange things happen sometimes when Carolina plays Florida in basketball, especially down there. A lot of unexpected wins in Gainesville. They're not. The Gators are probably like average. I think they're probably better than Ole Miss, but probably not as good as like a Tennessee or Arkansas or somebody like that. But man, what do you think? What are you looking for out of this team as we continue the slow march to the SEC tournament?
Well, the last time they went on the road, they won.
Yeah.
So there's something. It's been a struggle to watch them play. Certainly. I mean, they did show signs of life in the Auburn game the other day. Of course, they're already down by about 30 points, and then they found a way to make it about a 10-point game, and then just couldn't get over that hump. I think a lot of that probably had to do with his Auburn as much as it did Carolina kind of getting hot. But it's tough right now. It's tough times up there. They're struggling, and they do have some pieces, and then they got a lot of pieces that just aren't seemingly for the brand of basketball they're trying to play, which is like positionless basketball basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a new trend. They don't have the guys to do that really, and maybe they're setting the stage for what's to come in the future, and hopefully that's true. But and I say the future as in like the next couple of seasons. But if you don't have the guys to play it, you generally kind of got to find another way around it. And right now, nothing's really working. So we'll see. You just hope that at some point in time, you don't see guys kind of start to hang their heads. I'm not implying this team's going to quit or anything like that. I don't know that. But, you get your brains beat in enough, and it's human nature to really doubt what you're doing. And when you doubt what you're doing, you hang your head. When you hang your head, it's a sign of kind of giving up. And you just hope that that's not coming. It seems like, all these young men really, really enjoy that staff and Coach Paris. And so hopefully they can just find a way to improve as the season goes along, even if they lose games, finding a way to continue to improve is, I think, what's most important for this program right now.
Yeah, continue to stay at it. I think, some of the younger guys, getting them minutes and all that. Gigi Jackson, I think the better he plays, the better. I mean, he put up pretty good numbers against Auburn, right? The better he plays, the better it is for the program long term, because I think what you don't want to do is get in a situation that's like the one big time guy that can't win there, his draft stat, and then they blame it on the, he shouldn't have gone there. He should have gone to North Carolina. Of course, I don't know how much PT he'd be getting in North Carolina this year because they're pretty loaded. But I think those are some things to look at. I think it's kind of sad in a way because. Would ideally, if moving on from Frank, you would hope that the new coach would come in and not necessarily, win a bunch of games. I think we all were realistic about it, but energize the place, get people behind it. Man, beating Clemson like that early, I thought was a step in the right direction. And then all of a sudden, now it's just, the crowds and everything else that I've seen are just, they're much worse than it ever was when Frank was here or whatever. And that's just the nature of, not having a very good team. And, when you're not very good, people aren't going to be interested. So I think there's a long way to climb out of this hole for this staff. And can they do it? I have no idea, but I hope that they do. They seem to be good people and stuff. And obviously we don't, everybody would like to be better at men's basketball around here, right? So
it's apathy right now, and that's not good ever. It just still is, I think, and it is for me. I mean, I'm saying this out of the good of my heart. I'm not one of these social media heroes, that tells everybody everything they know. But I mean, this time we didn't see it coming, but this time just 6 years ago, we were about to witness, you could argue, the greatest achievement in the history of Gamecock athletics, the run to the Final Four for that basketball program. And I think that people are trying to figure out, how are we here? Like, where we are right now. I mean, it's there seems like they're not even really in a hole. I mean, they've already been, it's buried. Somebody buried the program. I'm not saying that's true. It's just what it feels like, right, guys? I mean, again, you go back 6 years, right? Okay, nobody saw the run to the Final Four coming, but the program itself certainly had energy because they had gotten hosed in 2016 on the tournament. And everybody knew that. And everybody knew what they were returning, right? And that team, that 16-17 team, was pretty good. Now, did we know that they would be in the tournament? No, because we had just seen the program a year prior that should have been in it not get in. So they were still kind of straddling the line. However, we knew that they were good enough to get in. It was just a matter of if they did. And then you had the next train of thought, which was, sweet Jesus, if we get in, can we finally get past the first round? Because that sure as hell it doesn't happen around here ever. And then, of course, they made that run. And I think what people thought, there's always going to be a part of the fan base that that expects every year to be in the Final Four, to be in the college football playoff, to be in the College World Series. There's not that my expectations, if I was a coach or a player, would be any less. You expect to win the title every year. If you don't, why are you there? But I mean, realistically speaking, as fans, if we all nobody actually ever does that every single year. Nobody. And so, it's you got to be realistic. However, after they made the run to the Final Four, I think we all kind of thought, like, okay, they didn't just crack the tournament and become a one-hit wonder. Like, he's got it. He's reestablished basketball at South Carolina. We're not going to do this every year, but we certainly have reinvented our program. And when we're on solid ground, right, and when we're gonna compete, we've been so close, but now we're kind of there. And now they're really bad, it's just depressing to think about.
It's as bad as it's been.
Yeah, and it seems farther back, at least perceptually in my mind, than the football team's conference relevance, which is 12 years ago as opposed to just 5. And you talk about the what ifs with that year before team, because they were a 20-win team that didn't make it. They allowed a 19-win Arizona, bigger brand, into the tournament over the Gamecocks, and they could have made a shake. Could have contended that year, but it just the precipitous drop off post Final Four. It just seems like that much longer ago.
It's and again, I said it, and y'all know me. I'm a baseball guy. I mean, I love everything clearly, but I always been pretty close with baseball program and continue to be. And celebrating the national championships is something that all Gamecocks forever and ever will cherish. Nobody more than me, outside of the guys that actually did it, like Coach Tanner and the players and Calvi and Coach Myers and all those guys that were involved in all that. Even guys like Monty Lee, who helped build that program to get it there. with that said, I as big of a fan of baseball as I am in those achievements, because they are national championships. The women have won national championships in basketball. I mean, guys, you honestly can legitimately make the argument that the greatest achievement in the history of this school is going to the Final Four in men's basketball. I mean, there's a real argument for that. There's no title, but there's a real argument for that. I mean, you think about what they did to get there.
It's for a revenue sport. It's the biggest accomplishment in athletics history. I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than the Final Four.
No.
There's only 2 revenue sports, but and I think when you kind of weigh the last 30, 40 years of Gamecock basketball against like your average season, it makes it even more incredible. And the NCAA tournament history. I mean, hadn't won a first-round game in how long before that happened? 40 years?
70,
amazing.
73, right? So, yeah. It was incredible.
I'll always remember.
Impressing.
I'll always remember that time the Gamecocks were in the Final Four. And I hope it doesn't. I mean, I would love to see that program come back, because I think there's no reason why South Carolina should not be good at men's basketball. But
when Carolina basketball is good, JC, you grew up, Phil, you grew up, I grew up, we all grew up going to Frank McGuire Arena, and I could comfortably. I'm not talking about Colonial Life Arena. I'm talking about Frank McGuire Arena. I'm not knocking their current ballpark. I'm not getting into the conversation. I'm saying when I grew up as a kid and they were playing well, that place was a blast. It was as much fun as you could have in your life going to Frank McGuire Arena. It was loud. You felt like you were on the court. I mean, it was nuts. You remember that?
I love going to games there. High school state championship games there were awesome too. I mean, I love the Frank McGuire Arena. And
I still think they should find a way once a year to play a throwback game there. Throwback uniforms, play a throwback game at Frank McGuire Arena.
It would be awesome. But I think I asked somebody about that one time. I think they've gutted it so much.
Yeah.
There's not stands or something anymore. I don't know.
They've taken them up. Just re-gut it. I mean, I don't know what you would do, or maybe it would be a select ticket, but if you had like the Gamecock throwback weekend series where the men played on Saturday and the women played on Sunday or something like that, I think it'd be neat. I think it'd be awesome. Yeah.
I think I think by the end of this decade, there'll be a new basketball arena, believe it or not. I think when they go to design that, because if you think about it, guys, we all kind of still think the CLA is new. It's not. It's 21 years old, 22 years old. So by the end of this decade, it'll be 30 years old. That was the same age as McGuire Arena when they built the CLA. So I would think that you would see something new, and it would be much more modeled after Carolina Coliseum.
Yeah.
Then in terms of structure, seating arrangement, you obviously going to have luxury boxes and things like that you have to sell these days. But I don't expect it to be a copy of the CLA at all. I think it'll be a smaller, more intimate venue that'll be very nice and attached to like a practice facility, and to do all that. That's way in the future though. But and I think the CLA will remain for things like concerts and graduations and things
absolutely
like that.
Should.
It's
a beautiful building.
It is, and the thing is, it's not necessarily a bad basketball venue, because the women get good crowds, obviously. But when they had the first and second round of the NCAA tournament there, the basketball media that was there, I think Virginia was playing or whatever, because in that seating arrangement, you had the fans of all the schools down on the court. And then it went up, whereas with Carolina basketball, you have a lot of people that don't show up down on the lower level, and people are kind of spread out. But when you have fans down there on the court at the CLA, it is a loud building. It is. I mean, I've been in it before. Gosh, Darren Horn's first year, which Carolina was a winning season for the Gamecocks, pretty exciting year. My buddy, actually, it was John Barber of Express Sunrooms. He had courtside seats, and the ex-wife and I took him for a few home games, right? And there were some games that year where it was packed. I think they pushed really hard to sell out a game against Georgia, and they sold it out. It was on a Saturday, and the place was loud.
Yeah,
loud. So disappointing loss that year when Tennessee came to town because Bobby Knight went by football practice, and he was, I think Musburger and Knight were calling that game, and that lost Tennessee at home, I think, knocked him out of the tournament. And then we never heard from Darren Horn again. He coached here 3 more years. Nobody heard from him again. Well, nice year. Steph Curry knocks him out of the NIT, and it's like, who's our next basketball coach? But anyway, I do think it can be done, and it is sad because, man, being at the Final Four was one of the greatest moments of my life. Because I was a basketball fan before I was a football fan, and I don't know, just kind of crazy like that.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a commitment coming up. Wendell Gregory Friday, opening day for baseball. Wendell has been on the site going through some of the newcomers and stuff. Briefly on baseball, I continue to hear, and I'll ask you because you'll know better than me, that the pitching staff's pretty loaded. This year. And it's probably better from what I've heard than they maybe even thought after last year.
Well, yeah. I mean, they look. You've got older arms and you've got healthy arms, and and you've got a couple of new arms that they're excited about too. But you got older arms and healthy arms, and that's good. And I know. I know. Even Coach Tanner mentioned to somebody yesterday who I know well. He said, "Boy, they can pitch." This is coming from one of the greatest baseball minds I've ever been around. So when Ray Tanner says it, it's probably pretty true as it pertains to baseball. And I know internally they're excited there. And then offensively, they've got pieces. They're just going to have to get it figured out in the first couple of weeks of the season, kind of what they want to do with the lineup, who's going to be comfortable where, and all those types of things, and how they'll, what they'll kind of shape up as an offense to manufacture runs. Because you got to have pitching to win, but you also got to be able to score some runs in the SEC because you're going to have some strange days. There's no question about that. So, yeah, excited about it. Can't wait until opening day. I know we're working hard on some things for everybody for that. And with the football team, this is going to be a pretty good week on the recruiting trail, it seems. And from there, it could get really good in the next few days after that. And really good as in like more impactful sooner than later. Good. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But the next couple weeks could be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you. We're right there on that wavelength, right,
Yeah.
Phil. So
For sure.
that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to get out of here, folks. Once again, excited about Jamie joining the show next Wednesday. So you got me and Phil Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. But we're busy behind the scenes getting all the production work and stuff done for that, getting a plan together so we don't just sit here and talk all over each other and all that good stuff. But I'm certainly fired up about it, and I'm sure you guys are too. All right, we'll be back tomorrow, High Energy Thursday, right here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Have a great afternoon, everybody.